It's Tennessee and Alabama for the third Saturday in October. Let's get a quick look at who Alabama is and how good it is under Ty Simpson.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into it. This is your Wednesday morning Locked On Vols. I am your host, Cain. Thank you so much for being here, making Locked On Vols a part of your morning routine, your first listen, your first watch. Each and every single morning, we are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every single day. Really fun show coming up here today. We're going to take a look, a glance, if you will, at Alabama, some quick stats, and kind of show you where the Crimson Tide rank in the Southeastern Conference in terms of offense, defense, rushing, passing, all that and more, both offensively, defensively, turnover margin, which is really good, spoiler alert, and kind of what's at stake for both of these programs here in segment number one. We'll get a more in-depth quarterback look between Joey Aguilar and Ty Simpson on tomorrow's show, but that's coming up here in segment number one. Your mailbag questions. I said on Monday's show we planned on doing the mailbag edition of Locked On Vols on Tuesday, unless I did a crossover, scheduled a crossover later that night, so hope you guys enjoyed that with Luke Robinson of Locked On Bama. But we'll get your mailbag questions answered in segment number two, and then Ward Wednesday going to join us in segment number three. All that and more right here on your Wednesday Locked On Vols. So without further ado, here's a look at the Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama's a good football team. All right, is this and I want to put this out there in front because I think a lot of people are going to, maybe misconstrue my words or maybe take them out of context or anything. Like, I think Alabama's a good football team. I think that it's a much improved football team. I think it's shown grits, obviously, and kind of how the season started. That embarrassing loss on the road to Florida State, to a team in Florida State that is obviously not very good, and kind of what it's transitioned into now, winning 5 straight, 3 straight in Southeastern Conference play. This is going to be fourth straight SEC game and the third straight SEC game without a bye, right? So it's going to be a challenge for him. But, and maybe this is just Tennessee fan or Tennessee guy covering Tennessee that, Alabama beat Tennessee for 15 straight years before Josh Heupel got here, and it's been split 2-2 with the home team winning every time. But maybe it's just, that battered syndrome to where Alabama is just the cream of the crop every year. And I do think Alabama is one of the better teams in the country, okay? But, you look at the stat sheet. This is where I'm going with this. You look at the stat sheet, and I know there's a new coach there in Cain DeBoer. I mean, they do some things very well. A lot of the stat sheet on paper, mediocre stats. And that doesn't mean that Alabama's not a good football team. You don't play the football game on paper, right? And so, but you look at the stat sheet, and I was just kind of impressed when I was diving in, doing my research earlier in the week on Alabama. I'm like, really? Alabama's that bad defending the run? I would have never thought that Alabama was that bad defending the run because, again, we'll get to it in a moment. Scoring defense, good. Total defense, good. Scoring offense, good. Total offense, good. Would have never thought that Alabama had as many issues running the football. I knew that it had injuries. I would never imagine Alabama had this many issues running the football, defending the run, protecting the quarterback, 13 sacks, third most in the league, or getting to the quarterback, right? I mean, they only have 9 sacks this year. I would have never envisioned Alabama looking that pedestrian on the stat sheet. But, again, a good football team, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about who Alabama is right now. Offensively, let's start there. I think Ryan Grubb, obviously Ryan Grubb has been huge getting back with Cain DeBoer and, calling plays and running the show there for Alabama. You taking Ty Simpson, who's been a career backup, right? I mean, he went to Alabama to be second or third string to Bryce Young. And he sat there and waited his turn, and then he backed up Jalen Milroe for a couple of years. And, he got an opportunity here or there, but ultimately this is his, 22? Was he a freshman in 2022? Yeah, he had to be a freshman in 22. So 22, 23, 24, 20. This is senior year. I think he's got another year of eligibility, but he's been there a while, kind of sat there, waited his turn, had to win the job in spring and fall camp, won the job, and he's playing really good football right now. He's leading an offense that is ranked 6th in the SEC with 34.8 points per game. That's solid. 7th in total yards at 431, solid. 3rd in passing offense at 304 yards, that's really good. 12th in rushing, they are 12th out of 16 teams with rushing only 126 yards per game. That is not good. I was very surprised. I'll get into the running back issues here in a moment. Alabama, the turnover margin is impeccable. Alabama's turned the football over only twice. It's coming consecutive weeks. A pick to Vanderbilt, the only pick of the season for Ty Simpson 2 weeks ago. And then I think it was Jan Miller or whoever it was. One of the running backs fumbled against Missouri this past week. They've turned the football over only 2 times this year, which is really impressive. Alabama's 50% on third downs. That's really good. And Alabama is 20 of 28 for touchdowns in the red zone. That could be better. I will say that. Not as many red zone touchdowns for the Alabama Crimson Tide. But you get back to Ty Simpson, who's the commander-in-chief of this offense, essentially. And he's second to Tennessee's Joey Aguilar with 2 less passing yards than Aguilar, 1,678. He leads the SEC and Aguilar by 2 passing touchdowns with 16. All right. He's got 16 touchdowns, only 1 pick. Really good ratio. He has the highest quarterback rating of any SEC signal caller at 172.4. He's completing 70% of his passes, which is really good. Wouldn't say he's the most mobile, but kind of like not like Taylor Green, okay? But whereas Taylor Green had this many yards gained and then this many yards netted because of sacks, kind of like Ty Simpson there, just on a much, much smaller scale. You've got Ty Simpson, who's gained 150 yards on the ground, but after sacks, he's only got 58 rushing yards on the year. He has scored 2 more touchdowns on the ground. So Ty Simpson, again, he's not going to win the Heisman, but he's had a really solid season so far, and you got to tip your cap there. It does help when you have a trio of wide receivers that could potentially be playing in the NFL. Jeremy Bernard is fantastic. He's the best wide receiver on that team. Everybody thought it was going to be Ryan Williams. I thought it was going to be Ryan Williams for sure. Based on his performance last year in the first half, specifically the Georgia game. But and he's still really good. He's been banged up a little bit, but Jeremy Bernard is the most productive wide receiver on that team, and he's been really good. 412 yards, 28 receptions, leading the team, 5 touchdowns. Ryan Williams, 21 catches, 336 yards, 3 scores. Isaiah Horton, the transfer from Miami, who played 7-on-7 with Ty Simpson. He has 21 receptions, 270 yards, and 4 touchdowns. So there's some good wide receivers in that bunch right there for sure. We'll get to the running back issues. Jan Miller missed the first 3 games of the season, and then he got hurt last week with a concussion. Very much questionable for this football game day to day. The running attacks really struggle without him. Again, 126 yards on average per game. They do like to throw to the running back, so that's something to look out for. The offensive line's been kind of puzzling as well. Like, they obviously are blocking for an offensive unit that is 6th in the SEC and 7th in total yards, but they don't protect Ty Simpson specifically well. They've given up 13 sacks. That is 4th most in the league. And they're blocking for just 3.7 yards per carry. Anytime you're blocking for less than 4 yards per carry, that's not very good. They do have Cain Proctor, who they'll give the football to. They'll wildcat him on the goal line. They find different ways. Grubb has found different ways to get Proctor involved. That stress defenses and have defenses plan for how to defend Caden Proctor in the backfield, but he's a left tackle. Then you have Parker Brailsford, who's arguably the best center in the league. Defensively, it's interesting, right? Very solid overall. Like Alabama ranks 7th in the league. Like 7th is middle of the road, but they give up 17.3 points per game. That is really good, okay? They rank 4th in the SEC with giving up on average less than 300 yards a game, 293.2. That is very good. They're allowing the second fewest passing yards and only 136 yards through the air. They are giving up, however, the 4th most rushing yards in the league at 156. They're allowing 156 yards on the ground per game. That is mind-blowing to me. There's a lot of opportunity there for Tennessee's offense that, of course, Arkansas's defense is awful, but for Tennessee's rushing offense that put up 264 a week ago. I mentioned the turnover margin offensively. I'm going to do it again here. Just 2 turnovers offensively for Alabama. They have 11 takeaways defensively, 6 interceptions, and 5 fumble recoveries. It's really impressive. Alabama's holding opponents to just 37% on third downs. Pretty good. And in 12 red zone trips, they've allowed 8 touchdowns. They've only recorded 9 sacks, which is, again, mind-blowing to me. How in the world has Alabama only recorded 9 sacks on the year? To put things into comparison, Tennessee has recorded 25 sacks so far this year. Justin Jefferson's a guy to watch out for in the middle. Linebacker Dante Lawson's a guy in the middle as well. LT Overton up front is a defensive end that's coming along. He's a really good player. The freshman London Simmons is coming along as well in the interior. In the back end, safety Bray Hubbard leads the conference with 3 picks. So that's noteworthy for sure. Bray Hubbard's a guy that you need to be looking out for. But again, you don't have just all the all-name teams that you're so used to having if you're Alabama in terms of, those edge players and, linebackers and defensive linemen. Like, there's not a lot of names, if you will. There's good players, but this certainly does not look like in certain areas, specifically getting after the quarterback and defending the run, like we're accustomed to for an Alabama team. So it'll be interesting. Again, overall, it's a team that is veteran-led. It's a team that is good, and it's a team that doesn't make mistakes. You do that, you're going to win a lot of football games, right? And you create some turnovers like it's done defensively, you're going to win a lot of football games, and Alabama has won 5 straight since dropping the season opener to the Florida State Seminoles. So that's my look at Florida State right now. We'll continue to talk about things as the week goes along. Again, solid football team, but you don't play the game on paper. But on paper, there's a couple of stats where it's like, ooh, Tennessee can very much exploit that specific stat. And Tennessee's going to have to do just that in order to win this football game. Pulling off the upset on the road would be the first time winning on the road in the series since 2003. All right. When we come back, I'm going to do my best to answer as many of the mailbag questions as I can right here on your Wednesday Locked On Vols. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August of this past year. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, where you can move and you can be moved. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. The swivel screen is a game changer for those using this product. You can go from running on the Tread Plus to strength training without missing a beat. And the personalization class recommendations keep you engaged, keep your workouts tailored to your vibe, and match your energy level each and every week. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Thread Plus today. That's at onepeloton.com. One more time, that is at onepeloton.com. All right, we welcome you back into a Wednesday morning Locked On Vols. I am Eric Cain. Can't thank you so much for being here every dayers. I'm going to answer as many of your questions as I can. I know I called for the questions for Tuesday's show, but we did have a crossover, so we're going to answer them here on a Wednesday show ahead of Josh Ward for Ward Wednesday coming up in a matter of moments. All right, so it's kind of funny. The majority of the questions that I received this week all have to do with Tim Banks this, Tim Banks that, fire Tim Banks this, fire him, get him out of here, Tim Banks. And this is just an overarching comment. And this is just me. And what do I always say here on this show? Like, fan short for fanatic, right? It is not my job nor my prerogative to tell anyone how to fan. The university is asking, not just Tennessee, everybody, we're in college athletics, more of your time, more of your hard-earned money than ever before. Everybody continues to increase season tickets, to increase parking. I mean, it costs so much of your hard-earned money to go and support, any program right now in this era of college athletics. So everybody's entitled to think and believe and do whatever they want to do to be a fan. That is my belief. That is what I think. However, this is kind of where I stand. Just like anybody can have an opinion, this is where I stand. Like, I've said it several different times. I think Tennessee's defense is who Tennessee's defense is now, is who it is, right? Coming into the season, I thought Tennessee's defense was going to be solid. Obviously, swing and a miss there. I thought Tennessee's defense was going to lead the way. I thought Tennessee's defense was going to carry, not be like last year's defense, but be kind of the focal point for this Tennessee football team. And I am not alone in that category. Also, nobody would have envisioned, outside of losing your All-American first-round cornerback Jamal McCoy to begin the year, and obviously he's still not played yet, nobody envisioned losing your other cornerback a quarter into the season. Nobody envisioned losing your top 3 for top 5 defensive tackles to begin the first 5 games of the season. Excuses. I'm not trying to make them, but that is a part of the story, right? Nobody envisioned Joey Aguilar coming and leading this offense and the explosion coming back in the passing game. That's why you go out there and play, and that's why it's so much fun. But I am not alone in thinking that the Tennessee defense is going to kind of prop up this program this year, and that's not been the case. Now, the Tennessee defense has done so many things well. Again, you've got Tennessee defense that is number 1 nationally in sacks, number 1 in forced fumbles, number 2 in fumble recoveries, number 2 in defensive touchdowns, and number 5 in tackles for loss. It's incredible. Now, passing defense is bad. Rushing defense is bad. Third and 7 and long defense is bad. There are parts of the defense that are very bad, and I hear you. It's frustrating. I get it. But, Tennessee's defense is still Tennessee's defense is still creating, is what I'm trying to say. And Tennessee's defense is going to have to create in a game like this. But to this point in the season, you are who you are. You're not just going to do wholesale changes and be a completely different unit and shut down the run or limit Ty Simpson, who averages 304 yards passing per game, to under 225, 200, right? It's not likely. You know what I'm trying to say? You're not all of a sudden just going to do a heel turn 180. So you are who you are. You just need to lean into the sacks and lean into the forced fumbles and lean into the takeaways, because I think that's, will make the watching experience that much better. Just my opinion. But I'll get to some questions. There are so many Tim Banks questions, but I'll do my best to kind of work through them as much as I can. Does Tennessee's defense play their first perfect game? We can all agree that they played good at moments, but they are bound to put it all together for a full game this season. That's Vols in Bama 256. Thoughts and prayers for you this week, being in Alabama with this football game. I don't think Tennessee defense will ever play a perfect game. Nobody's ever going to play a perfect game. I think they're too far away to kind of put it all together. The pass defense has been nowhere near close to where it needs to be. Okay, they defended the run well at times, and at other times it hasn't. So certainly not going to play a perfect game. I would be shocked if Tennessee kind of put it all together defensively. And that's not trying to be rude. It's just kind of where you are. Can you still win without the defense putting it all together? Absolutely. You've won tons of games like that this year so far. Fisher wants to know, it seems like both sides of the ball strive when playing aggressive and fast. So why do we play conservative so often? Offense stalls when we do it, and defensively when we do it, the opposing offense can just run absolutely anything they want. Why not be aggressive and apply pressure more? With a 10-point lead, with a 17-point lead in the second half, with a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, I have no issue with running the football. In fact, before the punt that got everybody so upset, Star Thomas tries to hit the cutback lane. There was no lane there. If you run the play that was designed, I think you get the first down, and we're not even having this conversation, right? But I have no issue with running the football in that situation. You want to know why? Because Tennessee ran for 264 yards against an Arkansas defense that's last in the league in defending the run. So up 10 points in the fourth quarter against the worst rush defense in the league, having already rushed for over 200 yards, I don't know why we're upset. That's just me. Defensively, it's annoying. Because on 3rd and 7 or more, 3rd and long, you're back there playing zone. I think you're given too much cushion for sure. But a lot of time, maybe you dial it up, play one free over the top, bring some pressure just to kind of accelerate that clock a little bit. But 3rd and long is where you want them, and that's where Tennessee struggled a lot. You can't give up chunk plays of 20 yards and 30 yards through the air on that last touchdown drive for Arkansas. That's just unacceptable. It's unacceptable. So for me, I don't have as big of an issue, at least offensively. Defensively, at times, I hear you. I hear you for sure, Fisher. Big Orange Energy, Mr. Cain, do you see Tim Banks implementing a similar plan this week in regards to having Colton Hood follow Ryan Williams like he did Omega Blake against Arkansas this past Saturday? we'll see. Ryan Williams or Jeremy Bernard, depending on where they line up. I would employ Hood to maybe follow Bernard for sure. I think that might make more sense. But yeah, he's shown the ability to do that at times. Tim Banks, at least in years past. Bama sucks. What is Tennessee doing during halftime to suddenly look like a competent defense, and how can they translate that to the start of the game? It's a really good question. Tim Banks has made great halftime adjustments. Tennessee came out and played great defense there until the freaking fourth quarter where they allowed 2 touchdowns. I don't have an answer for you, man. The halftime adjustments have been there. Why can't you start the game like that? I don't know. That's a very good question. I wish I had an answer for you. Tyler says, everyone complaining about conservative play calling with the lead, but you have to be able to run the football when the whole stadium knows you're running it. Bishop going down hurt for sure. Why do you think they went to Lewis instead of Star Thomas at the end? I think Lewis is running the football better in the end of the football game. Star Thomas is going to continue to get chances, man, for sure. But I think Lewis was seeing it better and hitting it better. That's why I think he was there. Why is Tim Banks' defensive play calling taking a step back? I get certain players were out, but that's no excuse for his play calling. Thanks, and GBO. I mean, he's blitzing a lot. He blitzed a ton against Georgia. He's blitzing a lot. I'm not trying to sit here and say everything's roses because it's not. But, man, I see Tennessee miss tackles, getting lost in zone coverage, taking poor angles. He's got to coach that stuff up better, but that's more or less like in practice, right? That's not necessarily play calling, just my opinion. Got another following Ryan Williams. I already addressed that one. Is it fair to say that the secondary is our greatest liability than linebackers? I would say yes. I think that's fair. Also, are we pretty much what we are at this point in the season, going in, not going to see change unless we get your mom back? Unlikely and so frustrating. Seems like 2022 where we just have to outscore everybody. Yes, I think you are who you are. I mentioned that earlier. But here's where it's different, Jared, from 2022. And I mean this with all respect, right? 2022's defense that wasn't going and creating. This, as I mentioned earlier, this defense goes and creates, sacks the quarterback, turns the football over, takes it away, and gives it back to the offense. So, again, for as frustrating, and I know it is, for as frustrating as this defense is, man, they're still good for a takeaway or 2 per game, and they need to be that way. So that is absolutely where I would differ from. That's where I would differ from the 2 years specifically. All right, there's a lot more Tim Banks questions. Let's see here. Carla, which 3 to 5 players have to stand out for Tennessee to beat Alabama and break the streak? I mean, Joey Aguilar is a given. I mean, Andre Turrentine's got to play well in the middle of the field. Tennessee's pass rush has got to get home, so give me Joshua Josephs. That's 3. Miles Kitselman, everything they want to do offensively. He had a really good game, I thought, against Arkansas. That's 4. And I don't know. I mean, I guess you want to establish the run, so you mean Deshaun Bishop. But obviously Joey Aguilar's got to be big, and give me a middle of the field player. That's Andre Turrentine. Give me a middle of the field player and have a good game and see what happens for sure. All right. Got to get to Josh Ward. Sorry, running behind just a little bit. Got to get to Josh Ward for our Ward Wednesday hit. That's coming up next. So we continue on here. This is Locked On Vols. The holidays are going to be here before you know it, which is exciting, but getting your home ready for guests and celebrations can feel like a lot. Maybe your serveware needs a refresh. I stumbled over that line yesterday on the show, and I just couldn't get it. Maybe your serveware needs a refresh, or the guest room could use some new bedding. Wayfair has everything you need to get your home holiday ready, from Christmas trees to wreaths to bedding, cookware, outdoor inflatables. It's your one-stop shop for every room in the house. Wayfair makes it easy to personalize your home for the holidays with a huge selection for every style and every budget. With the free and easy delivery, even on the big stuff, you can get everything you need without the hassle of a huge delivery fees. I love how easy it is to find pieces that fit my style, my wife's style more importantly, and the most important thing, our budget. Everything was in one place. And checkout, man, it was a breeze. Get organized, get refreshed, and get ready for the holidays for way less. Head on over to Wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's Wayfair, Wayfair, Wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Looking at our friends over at Supply House, when the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you informed. Keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts fast for a new project? Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer, right? The part finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on the job, where every single detail matters. Join the free Trademaster program today and score various perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use that promo code SHCollege5. That's SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real time, real people, real service. Josh Ward joining us here on Ward Wednesday, Locked On Vols. Josh, grew up in Farragut, right? Went to the University of Tennessee. Grew up a Tennessee fan, obviously kind of in a different landscape now. But did you grow up despising Alabama and everything Alabama? And does it kind of fuel you to do a show every day with a guy that probably hates Alabama football more than anybody in this universe?
Yeah, I was never fueled by the Alabama rivalry the same way that Jason Swain is fueled by the rivalry. I can assure you of that. But sure, growing up in Knoxville and growing up around the University of Tennessee and having UT alums in my family, the Alabama rivalry was a big one. I grew up in the 90s, largely it was shaped during that decade. So the Florida rivalry was huge. So in that conversation, which is bigger to you, Florida or Alabama? I grew up with the Alabama game in the early to mid 90s. So we're at the 30th anniversary of Joey Kent's play number one in that win. I remember how big that win was in breaking the losing streak against Alabama. So I experienced that, and then the shift to trying to end the losing streak against Spurrier in Florida, which of course happened in 98 when Tennessee went on to win the national championship. So I've experienced both being such a huge deal to the Tennessee fan base. And I love this week. I love the Tennessee-Alabama week. I've talked about the Tennessee-Florida week as well, but this is one that is universally accepted, that you look forward to the week. You hate Alabama. All Tennessee fans agree on that one.
Again, I feel like the games just mean more when it's named, right? The third Saturday in October, the Egg Bowl, the Iron Bowl, the world's largest cocktail party. Like when the game is named, or if you're playing for a trophy, hashtag bring back the beer barrel, no excuse to not hashtag bring back the beer barrel, it just means a little bit more. Now, I say all that. I mean, Tennessee, Kentucky, I wouldn't say that's a big rivalry. That's more about specifically the beer barrel. But anytime a game is named or you're playing for a trophy of some sorts, it just means a little more.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've also made my opinion known on the beer barrel. I'm for bringing it out, but bringing it back to the rivalry to me at this point doesn't make much sense because I don't view it as much of a rivalry. I know they played for so long. It's been in Knoxville for 40 years. So there's just, and it's not going to go back and forth very often. I can assure you of that. So I think Tennessee should bring it out. I think they should have brought it out a long time ago as a spot that fans can come see, put it on campus somewhere if you want to do that. But the Alabama rivalry, when Saban had it rolling, and he had it rolling for quite a while, and Tennessee was having a difficult time breaking that losing streak. Fans are well aware. There was some talk of, man, why do we have to play Alabama every year? And I was adamant that the game had to stay. I thought it was outrageous, the thought of getting rid of the game on an annual basis. I understood the complaints about how good Saban was and where Tennessee's program was, but part of the issue was Tennessee put itself in that spot where it couldn't compete with Saban. Then Josh Heupel got them out of that. They won in 22 against Nick Saban. They won again last year. And while I think you can make a strong case Bama's roster overall is better, the roster is not an issue. Tennessee has a roster more than capable of competing with Alabama and beating Alabama on the field. So I'm glad that part of the conversation is back. There were too many seasons with Saban as the head coach against, Lane for a year, but Dooley and Butch Jones most of those seasons, and then Jeremy Pruitt as well, where you just tried to get through this week because Tennessee had little to no chance of realistically competing for 4 quarters. But that's changed over the last several years, and Tennessee goes in as an underdog in this game, but with a really good chance to go compete in Tuscaloosa and try to win for the first time there in 22 years.
Would you equate the beer barrel to the punch bug that was passed back and forth between Jefferson County and Cott County back in the 80s and 90s? Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with the old rivalry. There's a punch bug that's parked in the south end zone at Leroy Shannon Field, and it's all decked out in Patriots gear. But back in the day, when it actually was a competitive rivalry and it wasn't just Jeff County doing work, they would whoever won that game would take the punch bug home, which I thought was always kind of interesting. But then Jeff County just won every single year, and I guess they never gave it back and forth, and it just sat decked out in Patriots gear at Leroy Shannon Field on display. I think you're kind of saying that's what you want with the beer barrel for Tennessee, just so fans can see it and kind of hang out, but know that, hey, this is not a competitive rivalry nonetheless.
Yeah, you explained the analogy or the comparison far better than I could in that spot. So, yeah, this is not to say destroy or get rid of the beer barrel. The idea of bringing it back for the rivalry when it hasn't been exchanged in more than 4 decades. So many fans alive now. I mean, half of the fan bases haven't experienced it being exchanged. And so from that standpoint, I've told you as well, Kentucky week doesn't do much for me. So that one I'm good on. Tennessee, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida, and maybe some others will be created. It's going to be more here and there. Like Tennessee, Texas, I think is going to be a lot of fun. It won't be an annual matchup, but when those two teams play, when Tennessee and Oklahoma are playing, I think that's great. Far more interesting than Tennessee, Kentucky. Next year, look at the slate of games in the first 9-game season in SEC play that Tennessee's going to go up against. The games are great. The least interesting in that is Kentucky.
Can't argue with that. Enough about Kentucky. How does Tennessee pull off the upset on the road at Alabama?
Well, Tennessee's defense at this point, I think, has just shown too much boom or bust. So they need some boom plays. They need to go create some plays because I expect Tennessee's defense to give up some yards against Ty Simpson and Alabama's passing attack. I expect that Alabama's going to be able to score. Tennessee's defense needs to be able to disrupt Ty Simpson. Tennessee's defense needs to be able to make some plays over the course of the game. And then offensively, I think Tennessee needs to continue to do what it's done at its best. Plays down the field, make Tennessee's offense closer to hitting its max potential. Tennessee's offense, now one play against Mississippi State, I think should have counted. That would have changed what Tennessee's offense did. But the Vols didn't have a ton of offensive success against Mississippi State, and they did well against Arkansas, not as well as they could have done. More plays down the field will literally stretch out what Tennessee can do from an offensive standpoint. So be consistent on the ground game, avoid penalties. Tennessee just has it for 5 years now. It's had a way of getting in its own way when it has procedural penalties on the offensive side. It can't do that. It can't get a drive going on the road in Tuscaloosa and then halt itself with penalties. So it's a lot of things you have to do to win on the road, but make plays on defense, explosive plays on offense, avoid mistakes as often as possible when you're trying to make up, at least from a point spread perspective, a difference going in against Alabama. Tennessee made up a difference against Georgia with the big plays to Chris Brazzell. They're not in overtime. They're not out there with a kick to win it in the fourth quarter without the plays down the field. Have to have them this week.
No doubt. Tennessee's offense far from perfect, but far from bad against Arkansas. But I think it's the whole, man, they just left so much out there on the field. 6 total stops, which is not enough for Tennessee's defense. 6 total stops where Arkansas did not score any points in that football game offensively. 14 points. 3 takeaways, 7 points. Not good enough. Could have been so much better. Out the door, Josh, want to get your thoughts. Tennessee basketball preseason picked 3rd in the Southeastern Conference and ranked 18th in the AP. I think there's a lot of excitement around this Tennessee basketball team. I think that they can play more inside out. I think Nate Ament is obviously one of those guys we're going to be watching all year long. Jacoby Gillespie, he's going to. I mean, again, we can go on and on and on. Your thoughts on where Tennessee's kind of positioned to begin this season, both in the SEC and nationally?
Yeah, I feel like it's a little low nationally. My guess is that Tennessee's going to be better than the 18th best team in the country as the season plays out. I get that there's a lot of turnover, but that's the sport. That's college sports now. And I think Tennessee is in a really good position with Jacoby Gillespie running the offense. I think the excitement and the hype around Nate Ament is justified. And if you look at the preseason All-SEC team, he's second team, so you could make a strong case he deserves more attention outside of Knoxville for what he might be able to do this season. And I love the depth that they have built in the front court. And I think the depth of the roster is clearly better than it was a year ago. If injuries occur, that can change the conversation, but that was part of it last year. Tennessee dealt with injuries. Cam Carr's departure in the middle of the season left them pretty thin. they're deep this season. So if Tennessee stays healthy at some key spots, Gillespie this year, Nate Ament, and a few others, then I think this team is going to be really good. I expect them to buy in and play well defensively, be good on the glass. Can they shoot consistently from the outside? That's one of my questions going in, but I asked that about most teams going in. So I think Tennessee top 3 in the SEC is fair. I think better than top 18 in the country.
Two guys who hate Alabama more than probably anybody else. That is Josh and Swain, noon to 3 on the Sports Animal. What do you guys got coming up this week on the show?
A lot of Tennessee-Alabama talk. It is a special week. Swain does not hide it 52 weeks out of the year, but he makes it even more known this week. So 12 to 3, Monday through Friday, we're talking Tennessee-Alabama. A lot of SEC and college football conversation, but it is centered on a huge game in Tuscaloosa this week.
Josh, as always, thanks, man.
Thanks, Eric.
All right, that is going to do it here for this edition of Locked On Vols, your Wednesday show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll be back tomorrow again, taking a look specifically Ty Simpson versus Joey Aguilar. We're going to do it every single week. The majority of the season, it's been Joey Aguilar greater than opposing quarterback. These two guys, very similar in stats. Passing touchdowns, advantage Simpson. Passing yards, advantage Aguilar, but not by many. Quarterback rating, completion percentage, we'll get into all that. Pro Football Focus stats, your quarterback breakdown, Joey Aguilar, Ty Simpson coming up on tomorrow's Locked On Vols. Plus, we're going to revisit that 95 Tennessee-Alabama game, a special one on the Neyland Press Corps with Noah Taylor for Throwback Thursday. All that and more coming up on tomorrow's show. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, everybody. This is Locked On Vols.